Yeah.
All right. It didn't ask me if I was recording on my computer. I hope I am. So, hey, Jeff, tell us about your meeting in
We
Paris.
just had our
Humans Being
first,
More, the first live Humans Being More in how long?
well, it was the first live Humans Being More for Europe in 3 years. The first
my.
live event in Europe in 3 years, first live Humans Being More. We've had a Humans Being More here in North America, Sherry Danzig's Georgia Mountain Retreat last year, but this was an amazing event. We had people from the United Kingdom, from France, from Belgium, from Germany, Switzerland, and Malta. So
Wow.
also Spain. So we had people from all over Europe represented, but it was a fantastic event. We had an opportunity meeting as well as a Humans Being More, and there was a great crowd, and people are really ready to get the momentum that comes from having a live event. So there were a lot of guests, a lot of new consultants. It really was a fantastic meeting, and we're planning more French Humans Being More and German Humans Being More in person for 2023. So lots of great things are happening in Europe.
Well, you know what? Your timing on this call is perfect because there's a Humans Being More coming up next week in Montreal.
That's right. And I believe you and Leo just had an opportunity meeting.
We did on Saturday. Yeah.
On Saturday. So it will be fantastic to have a French Humans Being More in North America, and then an English Humans Being More also in person happening in March. And of course, we'll continue online. We're not going to stop doing our online Humans Being More events, either weekly or quarterly, to give people a chance to be introduced to our philosophies of Humans Being More and the 5 pillars of wellness. So lots of great things still to come.
Fantastic. So wait, this one's on December 3rd. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right. December 3rd in Laval, Montreal.
At the Congress Center where we had our meeting on Saturday.
The Palace Congress Center there in Laval.
And it's a 1 day, yes?
It is 1 day. So we're starting at 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. So a fantastic 1 day training.
Should anybody know in advance or prep in advance for anything?
No, just register at the Nikan website. In the shopping cart, you can purchase a ticket and come with a fantastic attitude, ready to learn and grow, and really lay the foundation, the groundwork for 2023. We're going to be get a lot of clarity about what it will take and what's necessary to make 2023 the best year ever for those in attendance. So
did you get any feedback from the group in Paris?
Yeah, it was really good. They had an amazing experience. There were people who had attended Humans Being More before, but a lot of new people. And I think when people are connected in that environment, they really just kind of open up to what is possible. So they stop thinking about limitations. They become very solution oriented and start really thinking about what's possible. So that's going to be fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thanks for that insight. And for anybody watching the playback, so it's not too late for you to register for the Humans Being More in Montreal.
It will be bilingual in English and French. It will primarily be a French audience, but if you are in Ontario or Montreal and want to join us, we'll make sure that you feel welcome as primarily an English speaker.
At the event on Saturday, I mentioned my first HBM, which back then was known as Silver Training, was in January, 31 years ago, Jeff. And Larry Prophet was the facilitator of that meeting. And I had about, I think it was 40 plus people from my organization at that first event to kick off my Nikan career. And all I remember from that particular meeting, other than I have my life cycle still from that meeting, but what I remember is thinking, a company that would do this for its people is an extraordinary company. I just remember how, because I had so many people from my downline there, I felt responsible. I felt like an upline, but I was just thinking, oh my God, I mean, wow, a company that would do this for people, extraordinary. That's just I still remember that 31 years ago, the feeling of that thought. as I was in that class and thinking, wow, this is extraordinary.
Yeah, it's quite amazing when people attend and find out that we're not going to talk about the business or the product, or if you want to talk about it in the context of the goals you're setting, awesome. But you're going to hear very little, if anything, about it from the stage, because this is really about your life, you being the best person in whatever area of life you want to create that. If it's in Niken, awesome. If it's in another area, fantastic. But it's a unique training in that it trains people to be a successful human being who is more and more each day, and that is the focus.
And I want to mention, I've been like I lost count. I know it's over 10 now.
Yep.
That I've personally attended. You're never the same going in anyone, and you're never the same coming out anyone. So, and I say that because it's so easy to fall back into routine, and it doesn't matter what your level of success is. It's just way too easy to fall into routine and become somewhat apathetic, meaning you don't really set goals, you don't really plan, you just kind of make things up as you go. And I think the refresher, the idea of doing something like this consciously, I know, like, for instance, the Williams, they would host their Humans Being More for their team every January. They wanted to kick the year off always with an HBM, because you want to establish your mindset and your goals for the year. You want to kick off the year right. So if you have not been to an HBM sometime in the last 6 months or in the last year, if you've not been to one, you forget what it's like, and you forget what it is that you are about until you revisit those important issues. And I think a refresher is something you ought to make a point of for your business. It ought to be a part of your business plan to attend an HBM. So I think we need to choreograph one here in Toronto area, see if we can bring out a crowd from the Ontario and the neighboring provinces for that reason. So, yeah.
One last thing to share, Mike, because I know you have an audience. We're having a very unique Humans Being More online on Sunday, December 18th. We have not done this before, but what we're going to do in that online class, it'll be a 3-hour class, is we want to replicate the experience of what it's like to go through personal coaching as the person who is being personally coached. So it'll be within a group setting, but we want people to experience what it's like to go through an inventory in the areas of your life that matter most, and then working with a coach to get clear about what might the next steps be in the process be, so you can advance rapidly, quickly, and get the results you're looking for in those areas. So
I think that's also valuable. Sorry, Jeff, for interrupting, but it just comes to mind that this is also valuable as a tool for coaching. In other words, if you've never coached somebody through this, which I think is critical in your getting started process with a new business partner. If you're not doing this, I don't know what you're doing.
Well, being coached is a first step to turning around and then coaching others. And we'll be going through some of those, and it'll be like doing the first month of coaching in this 3-hour session, and kind of understanding, well, what are the steps I go through myself to be in a coaching relationship with someone, and what are the decisions I need to make and the things I need to be clear about. And someone could leave this Humans Being More with the tools, number one, to make these changes in their own life, but number two, then work with other people to help them do the same thing. So if you're interested, that's going to be in English online, December 18th. It is a Sunday, so it's a day that sometimes people who can't attend Saturday could be, and it will be a fantastic opportunity to get clear about where you want your life to go within the context of being guided and led by a coach in a coaching session.
That could be a really interesting module just henceforth, for our onboarding process with new consultants.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. There you have it. Our Chancellor of Niken Humans Being More Training University, Jeff Isom. Okay, guys, welcome back to Aligning with Success. I'm your host, Mike DiMuccio, Royal Diamond, again. So yes, I was in Montreal this past weekend. Congratulations to the Montreal group. I see a few of you on the call here. And so actually it might be a good opportunity to set some goals where that's concerned. Mark, by the way, we can hear you typing away. I'm not sure if you know that.
Sorry.
Leo's got a date for January 21. I believe that's the next event in Quebec. We want to do a business meeting about that event, how to actually plan for and leverage that event so that it is a main event. It's a big event. I don't have to explain to most of you who've been to a big event how important they are and how they could impact someone's understanding of the opportunity when they get an experience of the community. And we were at dinner afterwards, after the meeting, and we were talking about increasing the number of meetings. I actually have notes. One of my friends that I met with not that long ago for dinner, I pulled out notes that I took from him 5 years ago. I have my notes that I had from my friend 5 years ago about what he was doing at that time and still teaches to build his business and grow his organization. I'm going to cover some of these notes because I think they're relevant. But I was saying that the one thing that you can do at a NICAN meeting, in-person meeting, that you can't do any other meeting effectively is, first of all, a demonstration. People get to experience the product in a live and in-person meeting. But when you have a large gathering of other people, the one thing you can elicit from that meeting, which we did on Saturday, was testimonials. And that's when the magic happens. When people hear the stories of NICAN and how it's impacted them, that's when people really lean into the idea of NICAN, either as a customer or as a business partner. So one of the things that I think we're moving back to in 2023 are live events. That's an important, it's been always an important staple in our industry, in the network marketing industry. As you all know, Eric Worre has his event coming up in this starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's the GoPro. Is there anybody here on the call going to GoPro? Elaine's going. Anyone else?
Yes.
Paul? Okay, good.
Where is it?
It's online. So if you want to learn about it, go to GoPro 2022. I believe that's the address. Let me just double check. Yeah, GoPro2022.com. And you can see how you can be a part of it. It is it's the single biggest event in the network marketing world annually. It takes place virtually. There's thousands upon thousands of people who participate from all over the world. I covered all this last week. If you're not clear about this, I don't want to get into it today. Watch last week's recording. We got into it in great depth about its significance as an industry event and what it can mean. And we also had a number of people who had been at that event. And I also gave some history about how that event had impacted NICAN Latin America. So a lot of the trends that had were initiated in Latin America that started this immense growth curve there was initiated at events at the event in Las Vegas that was hosted by Eric Worre called GoPro, which is now online. So if you're at all serious about making 2023 and more even specific network marketing as a real career, as a real business opportunity, then you can't not go. You can't afford not to go. You can't miss an event like that, and you can't wait a year for it, another year. So I would be moving heaven and earth. Now, I was part of a team of people who was creating events like this live every 3 months. And we didn't miss an event. Those events were the lifeblood of our business because they were responsible for the momentum that we established in the late 90s and early 2000s. So we know the significance, the importance of these events for the group, but more important is its impact on you as a professional. And that's why it's called Go Pro. Eric worries all about becoming a professional in this industry. So I know a lot of times I'm sort of wasting my words. You hear me, but you don't really take action. It's the difference between being an amateur and being a pro, quite frankly, is whether you take the action about, the kind of advice that the coaching advice that you're getting from the pros, people who are actually making the kind of money you would love to make. So all I can tell you is when I wasn't in those shoes, I was listening and doing the things that the people who were in those shoes were telling me to do. And then I became that person. So I wouldn't waste anybody's time or energy or money on something I didn't think was going to propel you in your business. So we've got a number of things to focus on here, a number of events. If you're in the Montreal area, the Laval area, you cannot miss Humans Being More. That would be the event that I would make as a priority on December 3rd. But then there's the 4th and the 5th that you could still plug into the Go Pro. The Go Pro, by the way, is from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till I believe 9 p.m. This is Eastern time, 12 Eastern to 9 p.m. So you do the math for whatever time zone you're in. That's a whole day. So you got incredible talent, incredible learning opportunities from the #1 income earners in network marketing. I mean, these are people who make my income look puny. So it would definitely be wise to listen to some of these people. Anyways, okay, well, we are wrapping up November. We've got some real neat things happening in November, especially with respect to our Boxing Day. I guess not Boxing Day. What do you call it? I'm not used to the word. What do they call it?
Black Friday.
Black Friday, yeah. And yet it's Monday, and then it's Tuesday, and then it's Wednesday. So that's why it's confusing. You know what I'm talking about. The specials that we're running right now, 10% off of everything. So now's the time to sell people on the idea of Christmas shopping, and no better shopping or gifts than the gift of health. And yeah, so you'd be wise for doing some of that. Anyway, does anybody have anything that they'd like to address on this call before I go into my notes? Paul, you're unmuted.
Just reminding people that the Kenko Precision, to get the set, the pre-launch, because then there's a launch. Pre-launch is, I think the last day is tomorrow.
Oh yeah, well, so I think we have our training tomorrow, right?
No, it's on the 30th.
I think you're right, yeah.
But maybe the last day is even. They said they would send us the information about the training tomorrow for those who have one or ordered one.
So if you've pre-ordered your launch pack, your precision pack for the pre-launch, then you're invited to the Nikan Precision training call tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern. From what I saw in Montreal, because I saw it held at the devices, Leo has them, they plug in, they are grounding. So there's a grounding component to this technology. And one of the products is a stylus, like a pen. So I'm pretty sure that's going to give us that training is going to imply information that we were going to learn about acupuncture points or acupressure points. So this is good information. This stuff you don't want to miss if you want to help people, and I think there's also a component to the product that makes it a health product. So there's stuff that we can say that we've not been able to say about some of our products. So it could be a real icebreaker, a category breaker for us. Okay, so that's tomorrow at 8. So much going on. It's hard to keep track of everything.
Is it
but-
tomorrow, the training? Or
Sorry,
I thought it was on the
Wednesday.
30th.
You're correct. It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Sorry. Keep saying tomorrow,
Yeah.
but it is a Wednesday. All right. So anybody else before we move on? Okay. Well, let's talk about this for a second, because my buddy here was talking about 780 new distributors last month on his team. And one of the things that he emphasized, and I mentioned this a couple of calls ago, that we had dinner not that long ago, 3 weeks ago, I think it was. And he's still of the opinion that old school is still the best school in terms of how we build the business. One of the things that he suggests, if you are in business building mode, if you are somebody who wants to really crack this thing wide open and create a full-time income, your work ethic should consist of 2 to 3 one-on-ones per day in his schedule, according to him, and group meetings as many nights in the week as possible. So that was a very aggressive. Now he was doing this full time, of course. But think about that. If you were in contact with 2 to 3 people per day, even if it was one new person per day, and you did a one-on-one, why a one-on-one, by the way? What was the purpose of I think I had this conversation with Angelica at dinner. The purpose of the contact, the purpose of the invitation, the purpose of the initial connection is to get an appointment, is to get in front of them. The key is to get in front of somebody. Because when you're in front of somebody, what can you do? What can you do when you're in front of somebody that you can't do over the phone or over Zoom or something like that?
Demos.
And what does that do to them?
Makes them believe, or it's more likely to.
Well, it certainly gets their attention, right? And have you noticed that that's the hard part these days, is getting someone's undivided attention? That's maybe the most important thing you can do in a conversation, is establish a level of communication where you have somebody's undivided attention. Hard to do when they're in front of a laptop or on their phone. You're, on the other side of that phone or on the other side of the laptop, and they've got multiple things going on at once, and they're hearing some of the things you're saying. But until you actually enroll them in the conversation, until they're really in the conversation, they're not hearing you. They're not going to remember much of anything. So attention getting is the key to success. And I think where you're going to see the pockets of success in Nikan is where people have been successful at getting someone's attention. Now, number of ways to get somebody's attention. If you're in person and you can do a demo, that's going to get their attention. If you're on the phone, how could you get somebody's attention? How could you get somebody's undivided attention if you're communicating over the phone? What could you ask them?
If you ask them, if you keep them talking somehow, presumably they're paying attention to you if they're talking to you.
Brilliant.
So,
yes, Paul. So how do I get them talking? Talking about what?
Themselves.
About
what
themselves.
They want.
Yeah. So the key in getting someone's attention is asking them about themselves and letting them tell you. And getting really good at questions. If people raise objections, I respond with a question to clarify the objection. A lot of times people are just reacting. And we want to get to real conversations. I'll give you an example. Let's say I said, "Hey, Mary Ellen, how are you?"
Fine.
And then I say, "No, seriously, how are you?"
Mm-hmm.
See the difference in the tone?
Yes.
And how that can draw out of her a very different response. By the word, just by throwing the word serious. Like, I'm serious. If you were serious, just that word alone changes the level of the conversation. Practice using that word serious. Hey, Paul, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about making that change in 2023?
Oh, 10.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Just that simple word, introducing that word in your conversation to really lock in, that's going to get somebody's attention. That's going to get them focused. And you're going to get a real conversation going there, at which point then they're going to want to engage. Anyway, let me get back to my notes here. Work ethic. Okay. So one of the other things was live meetings. Okay. So one of the things that they do is as a second exposure is their live meetings, either a home meeting or a public meeting. And usually the public meetings are on Saturday. The other thing that happens in a group gathering, a home meeting where there's a group of people, or a public gathering, we talked about this in the past. What do you get? What does a guest get when there's more than one person there?
Validation.
Validation. Yeah. They get validation. And one of the things that people, these days, more than ever, I think more than ever in history, but certainly an important thing is social proof. They just need to know that they're not the only idiot in the room listening to this, that there are other people who actually think it's a good idea. And that social proof is how influencers work. How do influencers work? Why did for the longest time advertisers go to, or why do they still go to people who are known? Because if it's good for them, it must be good for you. If it's good for those athletes, it must be good for you. If it's good for those high-paid actors, it must be good for you. Have you seen the coffee commercials with, now Brad Pitt's got one, and George Clooney had one to sell whatever brand of coffee. Why do they pay these people to do that? Because they influence people. They're influencers. So social proof is a construct that influences people to do things, to be in alignment with things if others are doing it. So those live public meetings is another way of creating social proof. If you don't have that going on, then it's hard to convey to somebody where Nikan is going, where this is going on your own. It's hard to convey and communicate that powerful vision. Another reason why we have our monthly events, our Seiko Kai events, is because it creates social proof. When you invite somebody, even if they're on just for a short time, just even 5-10 minutes, say, look, just take 5 or 10 minutes. Just want you to get a flavor, a feel for, and if you know a little bit about who's speaking, what's going on, just let them get a glimpse of other people live. That's a going concern. There's people involved. They're excited. They're happy. When you connect somebody to that live, it tells them this is real. It does it in a way that you can't convince and you can't convey. So touch points are very important. Exposure to others in a group setting, critical to the recruiting process. Not necessarily critical to the retail process, but most certainly critical to the recruiting process, especially. One of the talks that I mentioned a week or so ago was what they like to pitch, what he likes to pitch. He likes to pitch the concept of your pension. What's your pension look like? What age do you plan to retire? That's a really good question, because let's say somebody is in the age where they're looking at retirement in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Then you would ask them, how much money per year are you looking to have in your retirement? And of course, they're going to be leaning on a pension if they have one. And then you can say, okay, well, let's take a look at that. Let's say you live the average life, 85, let's say. And so that would be what, 15 years from 65. How much would you have to have saved up to manage those 15 years at the income level that you're looking for in your retirement? What would your pension have to look like? Let's say it's $3 million. You can do the math, by the way, figure this out. It's a really powerful thing to do with somebody. And then it's like, how you doing with that? How's that coming along? I don't know that many people who have a job who have anywhere near $3 million saved up for a pension to live the rest of their life at a certain lifestyle that they're accustomed to. So then what if I could show you a way to fortify that pension of yours without compromising your current job or business? What if there's a way to actually create a stronger pension, supplement that pension of yours? See, now we're talking about something that's relevant to them, but it's not immediate, it's long-term. So it's not there's two approaches to this money talk. We talked about this 3 calls ago, and maybe I should repost that. We talked about the cash flow quadrants and what it looks like from the point of view of somebody who's an employee. What's the money conversation look like from their point of view? More money, extra money, more money. What's the conversation look like from the point of view of somebody who's self-employed? They have no time. They have no time to make any more money, so they don't know how to leverage time. So that's the conversation, is learning how to leverage time. And then, of course, the people on the right-hand side of the equation, the B quadrant people, they already know that. So that they're not motivated by more time. They're not motivated by more money. What are they motivated by? Purpose. They're motivated by being involved in something more purposeful where money and time is concerned. So that's how you approach the Nikan opportunity based on where somebody's at in their life. And pension certainly speaks to people who are on the left-hand side, who are looking to have some type of a retirement, but they're too busy to think about it right now. But it's something that's real. If they're in their 40s, you know, they're within 20 years or so of retiring. If they're in their 50s, they're within 15 years of retiring. If they're in their 60s, they may be not able to retire. So talking about looking at a pension and a way to supplement their pension could be a really good angle for the business conversation. The other thing that he had mentioned to me, knowing our business, was that we have a lot of products, and it was probably a good idea to focus on a couple of our main products. So that's going to play a bigger role, I think, in 2023. We're going to get some announcements on December 1. And I think those announcements are going to play into the idea of focusing on a way to get people started with a particular type of product that could really generate fast revenue and a fast start. And it'd be the door opener. All we need is a door opener to get them into the wellness home. Then the rest will take care of itself. Let's see. All right, here's the training that he does on Saturday. Something we should think about if you're going to do some training. This is the training. There's 2 modules. Module 1, mindset. And the mindset that he deals with is how to deal with negativity, how to deal with people finding out about network marketing or Nikan through Google search, friends negativity, emotional roller coaster. It's interesting, but he deals with mindset. He thinks that that's a really important thing, because obviously what we call that is inoculating someone. So what he's doing is he's mentally and emotionally preparing them so that when they do encounter this, which you know they're going to encounter it, they've already got some resilience or some immunity to it already. So one of the first things he does in that Saturday training is to prep them mentally and emotionally for the naysayers. Module 2 is about recruiting. And here's what he gets into: how to invite. That's it. That's the only training. How to invite. Now, you've heard me say it. I think it's the most important training, how to actually invite somebody. Because if you do it well from the start, you've set the tone of their encounter with Nikan. You've set the tone for how they're going to read and interpret the information you're going to share with them. You've created the window through which they're going to look at this. So that opening conversation, that invitation, Angelica, what did we talk about at dinner? Was it not that? Pretty much almost only that?
Yeah, and you know what? I have good news. Like, I used what you were teaching me when we saw in Montreal, and I had my first person for the humans being more. I was so happy.
Fantastic. Remind me what we said. I think there was I had an intro for that.
I took notes. So you basically told me to tell to the person, I came across something and I thought about you. How would you like to be 2023 your best year yet? And what do you think has to change to make 2023 your best year yet? And what
What did they
well,
say,
the
by the
person-
way, when you asked them?
well, I didn't use those questions because he right away asked me. I just said I have an event on next Saturday, and he right away asked for the price, and I said I said exactly what you told me. I wrote if you could invest 8 hours on one day and come away with a change in mind, a firm decision, and a guarantee plan to change circumstances for the better, how much would you be willing to pay such an event? So he answered, oh my God, that's such a nice answer. And of course, there's no price for that. So I said, you're lucky. It's only 119. I followed what you were saying and it worked. I was, yes.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Did everybody get that? Can
Yeah.
you ask that question again slowly?
Yes. If you could invest 8 hours on one day and come away with a change in mind, a firm decision on a guarantee plan to change your circumstances for the better, how much would you be willing to pay for such an event?
And then you wait for the answer. And of course, if their answer is, I don't know, I can't remember what I was saying, but
You said free?
oh, well, the first,
Oh,
oh yeah,
yeah, you said that's the value you place based on your education, on your future.
yeah. So if they say, oh, free, it should be free, yeah, is that the value you place on your education for your future? Zero. So that's a question, right? But it's almost a rhetorical question. But the first question was, what was the first question before that one? The very, very first question.
The very first one was, how would you like to be 2023 your best year yet?
How would you like 2023 to be your best year yet? And then?
And then what do you think has to change to make 2023 your best year yet?
What do you think has to change to make 2023
yeah.
your best year yet? And then you wait for the response. So you have to ask it in a way that you're actually waiting for a response. It's not a rhetorical question. Now, if they say anything other than their mind, and they may say things, my job, my this, my that, whatever, you're going to come back with, no, none of those things are going to change if you don't change the one thing you have to change, your mind. And so, and then we go into, if you could spend 8 hours, invest 8 hours, la, 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 la. So there's a way to approach people to invite them to humans being more. And is it legit?
Oh, yeah.
It's totally legit. Totally legit. So yeah, we recorded it. Hopefully you take some notes and you start asking those questions. Okay, good stuff. So you got your first and you got a few days left to go. So keep going. It's awesome. Yeah, so the invitation we were talking about, how important is the invitation in the process? It's the first step. And if that step goes well, then they will engage in the process, and then the rest sort of takes care of itself. They either have a heartbeat, they have a pulse, they have an interest, they have a desire, or they don't. It's not about you. Here's another thing, edification script. So one of the things that he teaches his team is how to edify the upline so that they can tee up an ABC call. So how important are ABC calls in our business? They're critical. If you don't pass the ball, if you don't pass the baton, I mean, it's like hockey. You got to pass the puck. You've got to do that if you want to make a play. And so in our business, if you are not introducing, by the way, if you've sponsored somebody and you've not introduced them to 2 or 3 generations of your upline, you've made a mistake. You're making a big mistake. You need to leverage the support. You need to connect them to other people so that there's more connections. It's like neural networks. The more we play an idea in our mind, the more connections we make with that idea, the more fixed that idea is in our consciousness. Well, in our business, the more connections we make with people, with other people, the same thing is true. the more rooted Nikken becomes in their life, their lifestyle, their concept, their mind. So when you sponsor somebody, as a for sure, one of the protocols you follow is introducing them to at least 2 generations of upline, for sure. Make sure that they have their contact, actually make the call, make an ABC call, say, hey, time to meet your partners. And then make that happen. And then you're now leveraging other support, additional support that they can reach up to. And so whenever I get a call like that, an ABC call like that, one of the things I tell the person is, here, take my number in case you can't get a hold of me, can't get a hold of Angelica, you need to get a hold of me directly, take my number. Now, how does that make a new person feel? That they have a connection, that they have support, that there's somebody who's knowledgeable and available. They feel welcome, they feel supported, they feel another connection. Okay, do that a few times, and that fortifies that person's feeling that they're in a team, that they're part of a team, that team is important, team approach is important. Think of all the things that signifies or signals to that individual that makes this business run. So how to edify your upline is really important. When you make those introductions, introduce the person and edify the person to your upline, introduce your upline and edify your upline to the person. That's your job. Your job is to make the introduction, which means to make the edifications. And of course, I hope you all know what that word means. It means to say some nice things about that person and some of their credits. Give credit where credit is due. If you do that well, then you're doing social networking. Social networking, you're connecting people socially, and you're providing them with a strong connection. That is network marketing at its finest. Okay. By the way, one of the things you think you can guarantee is more energy. Do you think you can guarantee more energy? How about if I said, I can guarantee you more energy or your money back?
Oh, yeah.
I think you can with the product, of course.
Right. As soon as you do a demo, you can show them, right? Last point, promote the next big event. Really, really important. Promote the next big event. And how you can do that is if you're talking to your downline, especially, or your partners, how you have a phone. Yeah. How often do you upgrade your phone? Once a year, once every few years? How often do you upgrade the software? Do you upgrade the software when they get the notification? Oh, yeah, I do that. Yeah. So you keep your phone upgraded. You upgrade the software to keep the phone functional, working at its optimum. How often do you upgrade your mind? How about doing that? Upgrading the operating system. That's what this event is about. It's a way to level up. That's why you need to come. Now, is that not true? Do you not come away from an event with something that you didn't have when you got there? Some idea, some new spark, something, you make some other connection. Is that not exactly true? Are you not upgrading the software? Absolutely. Yes. So upgrade the operating system. Use that terminology. That's what happens at these events. By the way, Leo, I'm going to suggest something for the next event. Tickets. Selling tickets to the event. I've always had more success when people had to buy a ticket. Doesn't have to be expensive, but for some reason, that matters more. When there's a ticket on the line, when somebody's paid for a ticket, when they bought a ticket. And what I would recommend is you sell to your leaders 10 tickets. So each leader buys a block of tickets, and it's up to them to sell those tickets and recoup their costs, which creates now a goal. there's already implied in that a goal for them to get 10 tickets and to find 10 people. So I think that's one way to assist in prepaying for an event, the hall that you rent and so forth. But more importantly, it creates a little bit more of a commitment on the part of the consultants participating in the event and for the guests. Because if I invite you, Leo, and I said, look, I bought your ticket already, you don't have to pay me, I bought it, I'm on the hook for it. Now there's a little bit, I've already done something for you and you haven't done anything yet. I've made a commitment to you. Now your job is just to show up. So that's another thing that is a point of leverage. So figure out what a reasonable ticket price would be for the event in January, and then sell tickets first to your team. So go and get some simple tickets made and have them sold physically, so they hold them in their hand. That way you don't have to deal with the door, transactions at the door, just tickets. You got your ticket? You go to a theater. You go to a theater, you have your tickets. You don't start transacting at the door. Just show this ticket, you go in. So same idea, but there's so much more power behind that. I'll tell you a story. One of our strongest promoters in the early days was a fellow named Ihor Lenko. He lived in Toronto. He's in Florida now. And Ihor, before we had really big events, he decided we were going to have a big event in Toronto. He just up and decided that. So he went and booked a hall. It was near the airport. I remember the actual building itself and the large room. And we were going to have all kinds of wonderful people show up. We even had the owner of Nikken show up. We had, I don't know, Larry Prophet. We had Tom Watanabe. We had a number of diamonds from out of town. It was a big event. It was the first big event in Toronto. Now he would go to every meeting we had, the wellness previews, our breakfast meetings, anytime we met, with a pile of tickets in his hands. They were all packages. I think there were 10 blocks of 10. And he would always come with tickets, and he would always say, we're gonna have 1,000 people there. No, we're gonna have 1,000 people there. We're gonna have 1,000 people there. We heard that so many times. When we were offering tickets to somebody, we would be saying to them, we're going to have 1,000 people there. So we started parroting what he was saying to us, and everybody started saying, we're going to have 1,000 people there. And then I would burn through my tickets and I said, I need more tickets. So the next meeting, he'd bring me a bunch of tickets. And so we were doing that as we were building for this event, not really keeping score, but we would always say it out loud. We're going to have 1,000 people there. Guess what? We had 900 and I think it was 58 or 60, 960 people at that event. So it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's how you promote an event. And now what happened at that event, that was such a powerful event that really kick-started the movement here in the Canadian market. Canada became a very dominant force in Nikken. So it was the first 1,000 people meeting ever, other than a Nikken convention in North America. Pretty significant. And it all started with one guy who decided we're going to have a meeting and we're going to have 1,000 people there. That was it. It was just a projection into the future, and it became a reality because people bought in. So if you decide to do that, make a decision about how many people you're going to have. Print the tickets for those people in advance and start selling them and telling everybody how many people you're going to have. You know, that's how it goes. You start to create your own reality by vocalizing it, by saying it out loud, speaking it into reality. That's how you apply the law of attraction there. Any questions, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a question, Mike. What is our, well, yeah, my aim, I think to put an event together, I'd like them to have people to have gone through some form of process so that they're not totally, they're just coming to an event and they don't know anything, but maybe that's not the right way. Maybe anything they do is better than nothing. So
I think so. Because
yeah.
if they came in knowing nothing, but they saw enough to think, okay, whatever these guys are on, I'm interested. Then they will do the back end. They will do their homework on the back
Yeah.
end. So I think it's important that we give exposure. And again, social proof is one of the biggest things you can do, because now everybody wants to know, why are all these people here?
Yeah.
I have
Angelica?
a question.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you think about doing like a yoga class and then combining it with a presentation or a test?
You can. You can do you as long as it doesn't seem like you're coming from left field. So
What do you mean?
it's you want to integrate. The yoga class is about wellness, right? So what's important in yoga is hydration. If you're going to do yoga, hydration and breathing. So two key areas that I would want to talk about as an insight, as a benefit to people who attend that class would be ways to hydrate your body and ways to improve the air you breathe, since that's such a critical component of doing yoga, is the breath. And so you might feature the Nikken water technology and the air technology and but talk about it. Watch the videos that Dr. Lindner does. He did one on air recently, and he did the water one. So you've got talking points right there. You can create your own presentation. Maybe you can email him or Ruben and ask for the PowerPoint, and then even take a few slides out of the PowerPoint so that you can use them in your presentation or as a handout. Just as a handout to people. You don't have to have a PowerPoint. You can just have 2 or 3 pieces of paper that you hand out and let people know, and then discuss the products and technology. So you make it so that it's part of the experience of being in that class. It's yoga plus, it's yoga beyond, it's yoga next level.
And how would you do the invitation? Would you say
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. You can think about it.
I'll
What
think
would you
about
say?
yes.
If just put yourself in the shoes of the person you want to go there, and you want them to feel that this was a contribution, this was an added benefit. Think about being that person. Oh, they're doing that too? That's great. What is it that they're doing? Improve hydration and
something.
respiration.
Yeah, I mean, only the I forgot the name for the rouleau. It's for me, it's a must when I'm gonna do sport, or or after doing sport or something,
The Mag Duo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, I mean, that's another thing you can introduce, for instance.
Flexibility.
Flexibility. So there you go. Flexibility, another key component. So you don't have to do all. You maybe pick one, and then the next time you do one, you do another one. And the next time you do one, you do another one.
That's a good idea. Yeah, so people are going to come back. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. All right. We're at 10. So let's wrap up. We're closing in on month end. So guys, what do we do on month end? We turn over all the stones and we help people make decisions that can propel them forward in their health and in their wealth. And those decisions start with us. So is there something you need to do to complete your month end? Is there something you need to do? Take a look at your volume, take a look at what your goals are. If you don't have a goal for month end, are you running a business? So think about it. Everybody right now who's running Black Friday promotions, you don't think they have objectives? Have you walked into a Best Buy recently? Do it. walk into a Best Buy. I was in a Best Buy 3 weeks ago, and they had televisions in boxes everywhere you could walk, piled up.
Mhm.
They had so many friggin' TVs in those Best Buys. I'm like, somebody's selling televisions this month. They weren't in warehouses. They were there physically. So they expect those things to go out the door. You don't expect to come back in February or January and see these things on the floor. No way. They're going to be gone. So you think they did some planning? You think they have some expectations? Hello? You bet they do. That's called business. So there you go. Make it a good one. Thanks everybody for joining in.
Thank you.